Good morning, Director Underhill.
Good morning. Happy Friday.
Thank you to you too. Sorry, I'm trying to get my COVID shot. I just wanted to let you know I'm going to be on mute, but if you guys need me, I'm here.
Okay, congratulations on your shot.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I know. I feel like I am royalty or something.
I know, right?
All right, good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Morning, Maria.
Morning.
Good morning.
All right. Get started here. Just gonna pull up the agenda real quick and share that. Happy Friday too.
What a week.
Yes, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
I knew you were thinking that.
All right. So it's now 9:02. I'll call this meeting of the Englewood Environmental Foundation Board to order. It is Friday, April 9th, 2021. And I'll take the roll. So Director Underhill,
Present.
Director Lowe,
Present.
and Director DeAndre, present. Okay, we have a quorum. So I'll pull up the agenda. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay. So we weren't able to get the minutes from the last meeting attached in time, so we'll push that to a future agenda. Brittany, is there anybody who's on for public comment, or if you are on public comment, just raise your hand. I don't see anybody. Other than
I don't
staff.
see anybody either.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Excuse me. So we'll move on to new business, which our first item is amendment to the preliminary development agreement with SKB. So I'd ask Dan, if you could just give us a brief overview. I'll pull up that item here with the memo.
Happy to. This is fairly straightforward. SKB was selected in June formally with a preliminary development agreement that was approved by the EAF board and then went on with recommendation from the board to approval by City Council on June 1st of last year. That followed a long procurement process and an initial agreement, which was the exclusive negotiating agreement. Things have gone fairly well with SKB. Obviously, the year of COVID had a huge impact on the real estate and finance markets. And so that's largely the basis for what we're recommending now, which is an extension to the preliminary development agreement to formally extend it from where we are today to later in the year. I believe the date is November 15th. That'll give more time for the markets to recover. And also one other item, which is the redevelopment of city center, is going to be very dependent on probably a couple of public finance tools, one of which is directly related to the Downtown Development Authority debt authorization. So there's a good chance that the debt authorization goes back for another vote in November, which would then keep SKB on track for finalizing the master development agreement. So really, the essence of it is just to continue with the work that the SKB is doing, that staff is doing with SKB, and to allow things to continue to evolve as it relates to the DDA debt authorization. So it's fairly straightforward. It's very consistent with what everyone else in the marketplace is doing to accommodate the obviously significant impacts of COVID.
Yeah, Dan, do you mind give me a little bit more overview of these three agreements? It seems what each agreement entail. It seems to me we had an exclusive negotiation agreement with SKB in February last year, and we had a preliminary development agreement in June last year. It seems like if they have exclusive negotiation agreement, why do we need another preliminary? So could you just help me understand the purpose of these three agreements?
Sure. The preliminary development agreement really replaced the exclusive negotiating agreement. It maintained SKB's exclusivity, though, in terms of their relationship with the city, which is necessary to continue to get them to invest in the pre-development tasks. They've reported to us that they have, and we think it's true, probably over $400,000 of pre-development tasks that they've invested in to date. And that will continue to be the case over the balance of this year. So then the pre-development agreement itself anticipates the negotiation of a master development agreement, which will be ongoing as the pre-development tasks continue to unfold this year. I think one of the things that, and it's mentioned in the memo, one of the things that's important to realize is, there's some chance that at the end of the day, SKB is not the master development developer who wants to proceed, for a variety of factors. And the reality is this is still the best way to proceed and protect the city's interests, because even if at the 11th hour SKB were to, let's say, not proceed to finalize and sign the master development agreement, all the things that we are doing hand in hand with them during this period are things that need to be done to enhance the value of the property and its developability. So by way of example, there's a significant rezoning effort underway right now under the direction of community development, and that'll be moving through this year, but it'll enhance the development and appeal of the overall site. Likewise, the efforts to get the public finance tools in place will really enhance the appeal of the property, even in the event that SKB were to not ultimately sign the master development agreement. So I hope that, Jackie, if you have some specific questions, happy to take those too. Then I know that we're going to be doing a briefing and trying to provide some additional background to you.
If I could, Maria, just really quickly, the way I draw the distinction between the three documents was the exclusive negotiation agreement was the very first thing we engaged with SKB and after we selected them, and that was really just setting the table, identifying the principals who would be involved in the project and some very basic parameters of how we would go about negotiations. Where we are now, what we're asking you to do is to amend the pre-development agreement for the reasons that Dan outlined. And this is a little bit more advanced because we're starting to get in toward building the capacity of the site to be redeveloped. Dan mentioned the zoning. There are other things that we're talking to them about in terms of eventually developing site plans. The whole financing mechanisms are starting to be contemplated in this agreement. However, the big one is the master development agreement at the end, and that's going to actually be the contractual relationship between SKB and the city, or as Dan just said, if there's a successor to SKB, all the work that we're doing now will be building toward, if we had to have a replacement developer, that we would save a lot of time with having this in place. And the master development agreement, as I said, will really be the contract between both parties, which will explicitly identify what each of the parties are responsible for. And the biggest one for the developer, and in this instance, SKB, in the master development agreement, is to deliver what is identified in there in terms of both property transactions and vertical development, new buildings over time in terms of a phasing schedule that would be identified in that agreement. So that's in a nutshell kind of how I've looked at those three different contracts.
Yeah, it's helpful. Thank you both.
And Dan or Brad, so the preliminary development agreement, there's no real like end date on it. Is that correct? It's more just it's in place until we develop the master development agreement, and at whatever time is right to move to that phase. Is that correct?
Actually, there is an end date,
Okay.
Which I believe is November 15th of this year. But
Okay.
yeah, November 15, 2021. But it lays out a number of scenarios there by which that could be extended by the parties. It's likely that there will be elements of the master development agreement that are still being worked on at that time. So it's very likely that by its terms, the agreement would extend into 2022.
Gotcha. Okay. And then it's my understanding too that you're taking this amendment, so the EAF board will approve it or consider approval today, and then you're taking that back to the city council as well to get their approval of this agreement or amendment.
Yeah, and if you'll remember, the template is there's two motions to be approved today. One is EAF board's approval of the amendment, and secondly is then EAF board's recommendation to city council to approve the amendment.
All right.
So
Any
Dan,
other
what do you want
questions?
the
Go
what
ahead.
do you want the board to do is just to approve the extension of the pre-development agreement until November 15, 2021, right?
Yeah, I would say that the motion is to approve the First Amendment to the pre-development agreement. The second motion is to approve a recommendation to City Council to approve the same First Amendment.
Mhm.
And the city council previously approved 150,000 fees for legal services. That's done already.
Correct.
Okay.
So any further questions? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion. Okay, I'll move to approve the First Amendment to the preliminary development agreement with SKB. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Okay, second by Christina. Director Underhill. Any further questions on that motion? All right, take the roll. Director Underhill,
Yes.
Director Lowe,
Yes.
and Director DeAndre. Yes, that motion carries. So we are also asking, staff is also asking for a recommendation that the board recommend to City Council that this agreement be approved. Does anyone wish to make a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion that this board approves and recommends what's listed moving to council.
And
Thank
I
you.
will second.
Thank you. All right, I'll take the roll. Director Underhill,
Yes.
Director Lowe,
Yes.
and Director DeAndre. Yes, that motion carries. So thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you all
you
for the
very
time.
much.
Thank you. Start Friday with the good news for you both.
Yeah.
And
Take care,
Dan,
Everybody.
we'll turn those minutes around so that you can include those in the meeting packet too. So we'll get those to you yet today.
That'd be great. I guess Nancy is really the key person to incorporate
Yeah.
those. So that'd be great. Much appreciated.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
So our second item of business, we want to talk about an amendment. Oh, did Jackie jump off? Uh-oh, let me email her and see if she can get
Yeah.
back on. Let's hang out for just a minute.
I'll stay.
Okay, thank you. I'll give her a quick call. Oh, she said,
She's in the attendees.
okay,
So I think we just need to get her added back in.
yeah. Brittany, can you move her over, please? There we go.
Okay, sorry.
You're so quick. We have one more item to talk about real quick.
Yes.
I know we run these meetings fairly
Frequently, yeah.
economically too, but I would like to talk about this last item if we could. So this is consideration of amendments to the bylaws. So just as way of background for both of you, back in last May of 2020, we considered the third amendment to the bylaws and had some input from the city attorney's office, from various other people about how did we deal with vacancies. So at that time, Brad Power was one of the official members of the board, but was concerned about conflict of interest in his role about what we just talked about with the development of the property and with working very closely with SKB. So that was what prompted the third amendment. And we basically put some language in there about that the city manager was allowed to make interim appointments to the EAF board. And that ultimately it would come back to the city council though, which is what the overall bylaws call out, is that the city council is who makes the true permanent appointments of the EAF board. So as we work through that, I think the current city manager's preference would be is that we don't have an interim process. And instead, as somebody leaves the organization, or there's some other reason that a member would not be appointed, that we would take that, just go back to the city council, and that there would be enough time to do that. There's not really a reason, if one of us left the organization, we'd probably give enough time that we could get that on a city council agenda without the need to put in somebody in the interim. So really what this does, this language takes out all of that interim appointment language that was previously in it. And now, as you can read here, any vacancy occurring in the corporation's board of directors, which would be the R3 positions, shall be filled by the city council of the city of Englewood. So even Director Lowe, there was a few months there where Director Underhill and I were the only two board members. So he did not make Sean did not make an interim appointment between the time that Maria S. Sabata left and you came on board. So I think this is his preferred route. I think it really simplifies everything. So there is another reference to vacancies in paragraph 5E. So I wrote it as, should a vacancy exist in the board of directors, the position shall just remain unfilled until such position is filled on a permanent basis by the city council of the city of Englewood. So this, and as it says here, so these two paragraphs are amended in their entirety. So this is the entire language. So it just, again, takes all that interim out. So any questions about that? Or are you comfortable moving in that direction?
I'm good moving in this direction. So I'll make a motion to approve the Fourth Amendment to the bylaws for the Englewood Environmental Foundation.
Thank you. Jackie, any questions about that? Or
No,
I'm
that's
sorry.
fine.
Okay.
Do we need to get city council's approval with this amendment?
Technically, we do not. So I had brought, but I had mentioned this in the memo when we made the permanent appointments to the EAF board, which went to them, I believe, on March 1st or March 15th. And I can send you that council memo. So that's when they appointed us on a permanent basis, the three of us in our positions. Yeah. And I included in the text that we were going to do this action.
Yeah, I remember. You also include the MRF, right? The board
yes.
member. Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right. So Jackie, I'll take that as a second to the motion. Are you okay with that? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll take the roll then. Director Underhill?
Yes.
Director Lowe?
Yes.
And Director DeAndre? Yes. So that motion carries. All right. Any further business that anyone wants to bring up?
I do not have any.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll just get it ready to review the financials right next time, and
Correct.
with Gil. Okay.
Yes, that'll be our annual meeting. So we are required by the bylaws, through the bylaws, to hold an annual meeting, and I thought that would be a good time to kind of go over the financials together.
Okay. Good.
Okay, I think that's in another couple of weeks here, maybe 2 weeks from yesterday. All right, with that, I'll adjourn the meeting at 9:23 a.m. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you,
Thank you.
Christina. Bye.
Bye-bye. Have a good weekend.
You too.
You too.